for us. We can't all choose the winner again.
Everybody, please mute.
We didn't know how much he'd lost until his last breath.
For a good part of this drive. Go with the field. Who's feeling? It's going to be.
We're ready.
Okay, ladies, we are live. Are we ready to proceed?
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to say good evening and welcome to our Generational Wealth Series. I am Shai Joseph Franklin, president of the Baton Rouge Sigma Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I am here along with our chapter leadership for economic development, Daphne Flint-Roy, and her committee, who's coming together this evening to bring us a special economic development generational wealth program this evening. I hope you're in a very comfortable place. I hope you have some notes, some paper to take some notes, and know that when we do these programs, we're bringing them to you so that you can be informed, aware, and know what we can do to be able to help our communities develop more in the economic development arena. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Ms. Flint-Roy, it's yours.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another season of Generational Wealth. It is a new day and a new dawn. And generational wealth is something that you can catapult into your life to create new awareness and new wealth. As we continue to share the generational wealth stories and testimonies this year, we hope that you not only engage, but encourage others to adopt the generational wealth mindset. We must remember and share the concepts and the knowledge that we learn, especially with the younger generation, so that they can understand and learn the purpose of dreaming, creating, building, and implementing something that outlives us, so that our families and others may prosper. After all, it is up to us to save us. Tonight, we have Tangela Womack. She is a native of Baton Rouge and a graduate of Louisiana Tech University, as well as Scotlandville High School, where she pledged, and she went to Louisiana Tech, where she pledged our illustrious sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She has a multifaceted professional background, which began as a high school educator and then transitioned to the healthcare field, where she was a cardiovascular sonographer that was definitely recruited and noted throughout Baton Rouge. As a matter of fact, one of the doctors who worked with her told me they were very, very upset when she decided to look at another career path. Currently, she works as an administrative healthcare professional with the Louisiana Department of Health. She, on her job, is responsible for policy, litigation, and working with our BESI boards as well to determine the policies and transitions that happen in the healthcare field in the state of Louisiana. While embracing her artistic nature, she began studying the skills of microblading and captured a keen interest to do so. She became certified as a permanent makeup artist and then founded her own salon and studio, Blaze Microblading, in 2020, where she enhances eyebrows of women of all ethnic backgrounds. One of the things that her customers truly like about her skills with microblading is that they look very natural. I can tell you that for myself because I've seen them. I don't have it, but I think if I had to, I'd probably go to her because that's always been one of my things. Does it look like it's my real eyebrows? So just know that she passes that test. So I give her a plus on that. But above all, our Sarah is a mother, and she is determined to provide and ensure that her son understands and contributes to their life goals of generational wealth by engaging him in activities and understanding as he grows up. So tonight we present to you Tangela Womack with Blaze Microblading Studios. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daphne, and thank you, Baton Rouge Sigma, for having me tonight. I really want to thank you guys again for creating such a platform and a space for women to come together and just discuss such an important topic. And like Ms. Daphne said, yes, I do have a background in a lot of different areas. I was an educator, I worked in healthcare and not administrative healthcare, but finance or financial literacy was something that I lacked, and it has become of interest to me. So just in my entrepreneurship goals or how I got here, I was always the person who would not leave their house without doing their eyebrows. I'm pretty sure there's some people who can relate. But back in 2017, when I was looking for the actual service, and if you're not familiar, it's basically semi-permanent eyebrows, in which the career or the service has actually grown so much to where there's different things that you can actually get done on your body using the same skills. But I searched and searched and searched for someone to do mine back in 2017. And a problem I was running into, and this is back then, I could not find a woman of color near me that did it. It was very tough to find someone that I liked, someone who was natural, someone who would be familiar with my skin tone, my skin, the oiliness, everything. So once I found that young lady, I loved her, but she stopped doing it. So throughout my research, I decided, hey, this is something that I love, I adore. I've always been into beauty. I've always been into my eyebrows and makeup, some sort of way. But I just continued to research, and I fell in love with the service. I fell in love with the skills. So I just thought it was something I can do. For years, I talked myself out of it. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be perceived in the community. I don't know if people really are into this service. So just like anyone else who has fears of becoming an entrepreneur, I just totally talked myself out of it, just becoming my own worst enemy. So fast forward to 2020, COVID. Everybody had nothing but time. So the opportunity presented itself again A young lady who just knew how much I love the service, how much I love the skill. She was like, Tangela, it's your time. You need to do this, invest in yourself. You know, at that time I was like, you're right. So I went ahead and took my first class, and I love it. Like a lot of people who see the beauty industry, or the permanent makeup industry is what it's called, they see the money and the amount of money that you can make while doing it, which is true. It can be very lucrative, but fast forward to today, one thing that I love is Black women have jumped in full force, and there's many of us near and far that are doing the service, and we've created it and tailored it to meet our needs, women of color. So I love that. So just sticking with the title today of generational wealth, one of the biggest things people say when you want to create generational wealth is getting a side hustle or starting a business. And a lot of people don't understand what all goes with the business. You just see extra money, but you don't necessarily know, or just speaking in terms of myself, now that I'm making this extra money, where should it go? How can I make this money work for me? What are some things that I can do to put it up for the future? And those are things that I didn't necessarily know before becoming an entrepreneur. So tonight, I really like to share some of those things with you, some things that I've picked up along my way, and just make this more of a dialogue between us, and share information and where we can get it from, and give some resources that are available and that have been helpful to me along my entrepreneurship journey. So to start off, and like I said, I want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, I would like for you to put those down in the chat, and we'll address those. And you can unmute yourself if you rather speak. But I'd like to show you guys a video on generational wealth. She's actually one of my favorite people to go to for financial literacy. Just a second here.
Hey everyone, this is Bola Shokunbi. I'm the founder and CEO. Hey everyone, this is Bola Shokunbi. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance, and welcome to Clever Girl Finance TV. So let's talk about generational wealth. You may have heard the term generational wealth before and thought to yourself, well, that sounds interesting. However, you have more pressing issues like getting out of debt, saving money, or pursuing other financial goals. But I want to encourage you to revisit this topic and the idea of building generational wealth, because this is something that is really, really important. And you want to keep in mind that building generational wealth is a long-term effort. So what is generational wealth? It's basically wealth that's passed down from one generation to the other. And you may have also heard of it being called family wealth or legacy wealth. And generational wealth is extremely important because this is how you can build a legacy. It's how you can positively impact your community. And it's also how you can set your children up for financial success, at the same time teaching them financial responsibility. And for me, as a Black woman, as a woman of color, generational wealth is something that's really important to me. I want to see my children succeed. I want to see my community succeed. I want to see more Black and brown people like me succeed and leave legacies for their generations. And so it's something that I'm prioritizing. And as you think about it, right, you're probably like, well, that sounds like a lot to do. I'm still trying to figure out my debts. But keep in mind that you're here watching this for a reason, because you want to get ahead of your debts, because you want to get on top of your savings and your investments. And if you keep it as a long-term thing, you put generational wealth building on your long-term horizon, you have it as one of your goals, and it is entirely possible. So I'm going to talk about some key steps in which you can actually start to lay the foundation to build generational wealth. So one of the first steps to building generational wealth is investing. And one way you can invest is in the stock market. And this is getting really clear on your long-term goals and objectives, understanding your risk tolerance, understanding how investing works, and also making sure that you have a well-diversified portfolio. And you're probably already investing if you have an employer-sponsored account, an IRA or a Roth IRA. These are all investments that you're making towards your retirement over the long term. However, these are assets that you're building that you could also transition from a generational perspective. Another way to invest is by investing in real estate. And with real estate, you can create positive cash flow, you can build equity over time, and eventually you own the land and the property as an asset that you can transition generationally as well. So a really basic example is the home that you live in now. While that home is not generating cash flow because you live in it and you're paying a mortgage, you're actually paying down your mortgage over time and hopefully building equity over time to the point where you own this property outright, and then you can pass it down to your children. Another way that you can build generational wealth is by building a business that you can pass down to the next generation. And this is a great way to transition generational wealth because about 30% of family-owned business actually transition to the second generation. Another way to transition generational wealth is by taking advantage of life insurance. This protects your family in the event of your passing, and it provides them with the financial capability to cover the expenses that were dependent on your income and more, depending on the type of policy that you have in place. For many, life insurance is one of the key ways in which they transition this wealth because they're able to leverage that life insurance to pass down a lump sum of money to their children. However, it's very important to keep in mind that when you're transitioning large amounts of money, you want to teach your children as they get older financial responsibility and what it means to manage money well, so that when they get this money, they know how to manage it properly and they can continue passing down the generational wealth to their own children as well. And that leads me to another way of creating and transitioning generational wealth, and that is by investing in your child's education. It's about teaching them financial responsibility, and if you are able to, if you have your own finances in check, helping them to minimize costs with college debt so that they can get ahead in life when they get into the workforce by starting to save and invest as early as possible. So investing in the stock market, investing in real estate, building business, taking advantage of life insurance, investing in your child's education, these are all some of the key ways in which you can create generational wealth. But once you've created this wealth, how do you go about transitioning it to the next generation the right way? Well, for one thing, you want to make sure that you have a will in place that highlights your exact wishes about how you want your assets to be distributed. And this is not about having millions of dollars in the bank. This is about basically laying out the plan for what you have now and what you build into the future so that you can make sure that these assets are designated to your family members exactly how you would want them to be. Another way to pass down wealth is through custodial accounts and trusts. And this basically determines when your children will get control of these assets. You also want to make sure that you name your beneficiaries on your assets and your accounts that you have right now, and also on any assets that you acquire into the future or any accounts that you open that are tied to assets as well. So all of these things, having a will, having custodial accounts and trusts, naming your beneficiaries, these are all things that can be built into an estate plan. And an estate plan is basically what allows you to plan to transition your assets. And you can talk to an estate planning attorney when you are ready to help you establish this plan. So this is essentially how you create generational wealth and how you can also create a plan to pass it down. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you have, please.
So that was Clever Girl Finance, and she's been very instrumental in helping me get all of my extra money, my funds from my primary job, my primary source of income. Basically going with what she said on the video, I have established an IRA. I have been able to invest in real estate. I'm on the process of building my business. The beauty industry has endless possibilities. And yes, right now I'm starting with microblading, but there's so many different avenues that you can take by branching off. Life insurance is another one that I've started. And it's also like just with being a mother, you want to leave your kids something here. In the event that something does happen to me, I wouldn't want to leave my child here without anything to begin his life with. And investing in my child's education, I have been able to do that as well with the extra income. Is there anyone who would like to share on their experiences with any of the resources or the building a foundation for generational wealth? Or if you have any questions or comments, you can drop them in the chat. Okay, So with the generational wealth, before you can start even building generational wealth, you have to make sure that you have some type of financial well-being, meaning do you have financial security, control of your day-to-day finances. And with that, I went from working as an educator and just moving on to a sonographer. And sometimes I would find myself living check to check, which is where none of us want to be. So just that security and knowing that I can pay my bills, I can do extra, I can put money back for a rainy day. That's working towards my financial well-being. Also, just with COVID, being able to absorb the financial shock and not knowing what was coming, not knowing how you would, or just having one stream of income was always that was an issue for me. I didn't want to have to depend on just one way to make money or one way to be able to support myself and my child. Also having financial freedom of choice, being able to make the choices that you want in life, whether it's to finance or whether it's to pay for something outright. Just your financial well-being and making sure you have the extra funds to do that is a great foundation before building generational wealth. So some of the challenges that I have and that women, period, face along the way. One second. The gender wage gap, of course, everybody is familiar with that. So just working in my primary job, I have seen with my own eyes that doing the same job as certain people, especially men, we're paid less to do the same job. And in order to grow and be where we want to be and achieve our financial goals, one thing that I always wanted was to have more income. So in doing so, I decided to open my business. So it didn't stop the gender wage gap, but it allowed me to have more money to invest, which helped me shrink the investment gap. And the investment gap being you make less, you invest less. So with starting my business, it gave me the income to be able to invest more. And student loan debt is for sure an issue with myself and a lot of other women I've known. But just using some of the statistics that I was able to find, Black women have the highest percentage of the trillions of dollars in student loan debt. So just being able to, of course, right now with COVID, everybody is not paying that, but just being able to cut down on the amount of debt that I have with the extra income, it's allowed me to get lower interest rates in investments in real estate and cars or whatever else I would like to do as far as my business. The extra income has provided for that as well. So just Another way to establish financial well-being that has helped me is managing my money intentionally. So I have used budgeting tools, and Clever Girl Finance actually has a great budgeting tool that I will link to the, it's on the slideshow later. But budgeting is great. Paying down debt, like I said before. Saving is great. Before having my business, I wasn't able to save as much as I wanted to. I didn't have that rainy day account that was good, that I needed to ensure that myself and my son would be okay if something was to happen to my primary job. And investing. Like I said, I have been able to create an IRA for myself, and I also have a savings account for my son that he won't be able to touch until a certain age and can be used for his college. I'm just checking in the chat. What steps did you take to set up your business? And what percentage of income do you suggest that a person should save monthly? So what steps did I take to set up my business? First, I started by getting certified in microblading. So I took a course with a local artist. I took her course. There were several courses and certifications that I had to complete. Bloodborne pathogen class that you have to complete annually. I got insurance, so my business and myself are insured. From there, I took more courses. The more you learn, the more techniques you learn, the better off you are, and the more services that you can offer to your clients. From there, I actually started to look for my own place. There's lots of rules with working in microblading. Not sure if you guys are really versed on what the service is, in which I can go into more detail if you want me to. Just let me know in the chat. But I looked for a place, and I ended up finding a very nice studio with a young lady who also works in the beauty industry. And I went from there. I got my LLC. I got a federal tax ID, and I've been able to buy things under my business. It served as a huge tax write-off for me last year. And yeah, those were the basic steps I took to get started. And it was a learning process for me. Like I said, this wasn't something that I just knew off the bat. I've been learning along the way, and I'm still learning. It's a process, and I love it. I definitely enjoy it. One of my things that I don't want to happen is burnout. So I make sure I'm giving myself time for myself as well as my business. But like I said, I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday as well. What percentage of income do you suggest that a person should save monthly? That's a good question. To be totally honest, I feel like that's gonna vary by the person. What are your bills? What is your income? I think you should, I'm sorry. Somebody speaking. Okay. What are your bills? What is your income? This is just me. I try to save 75% of my my side money, my business money. And that's just because I'm not sure what taxes I will have to cover at the end. I also have to make sure I am keeping up with my inventory. And like I said before, it was tough for me to save with just my primary source of income. So I think everybody's situation on their percentage of saving would be totally different. And like I was saying before, this is just me speaking. I'm not really financial. I'm not a financial advisor, but definitely they're out there. And the person that I go through for my life insurance and everything, they've been very helpful with me setting up all those accounts and my budgeting and deciding how much I should save a month. We're just starting out and getting extra income to invest. What resources did you use or can recommend to begin the investing steps? Yes, I used Primerica, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. I had already had an IRA, but I was not contributing very much. So I sat down with my Primerica representative, and he basically told me, look, you have this amount of money. And he basically said, you want this amount to have on hand when you retire. You don't want to retire and have to go back to work. Or he always uses like the Walmart greeter as an example. You've been working all these years, you want to have this amount of money so that you can live comfortably. So I use my Primerica representative, and he's been very helpful. I also use like the Clever Girl Fitness, who was just speaking. She has 3 books on stocks. She has books on budgeting, and they're all beginner level. Very good information. So my Primerica person has been a great financial advisor for me, but like I said, they're definitely out there. What resources or recommendations do you have to invest in real estate property? I have been blessed with a lot of real estate friends. And my sister and I are really looking into maybe doing like a multi-family home unit. But as far as the resources and recommendation, like I said, I've just been blessed with some amazing people in my life, and they're just guiding me through this thing with real estate. I have seen lots of seminars, but like I said, for me personally, God just put these people in my life to help me along the way. I will. How often do you use the Clever Girls techniques daily, weekly, and/or monthly? I'm actually signed up on her website. And once you go to her website, which again, I have linked, I'll show you guys in the PowerPoint. There's a quiz, and you'll answer the questions, and she'll give you feedback based on where you are in your financial journey. She'll also offer all the resources that she thinks would help you to improve or get to the goals that you have set. So I would say I've signed up for her emails. So I receive a daily email from her website. What have I learned from the real estate context? Basically, as of right now, it's a seller's market. Buying is not the best. Not in my best interest at the moment, is what I've been told here recently. One thing that I thought was really interesting is, like Clever Girl was saying on the video, the home that you're living in, it isn't generating any revenue, but you are paying down the mortgage and you're getting some equity. Well, one thing that I've been told by real estate professionals is a good idea would be to buy a multi-family home first and rent out the extra rooms or the extra apartment, whatever, whether it's a duplex, and allow that to be your mortgage. So that investment is paying for where you're living, and you're still able to make money on whatever business, or whether it's a 9-to-5 or a side hustle.
Tangela, you've been giving us some really great information. I'm just going back into the chat and looking at a few things and a couple of contacts that I've received since we've been on regarding a couple of things. One of them being, when you decided to choose Primerica, did you look at some other resources that are here locally as well? Or did you just look at that resource? And what are some of the things that you practice daily, and you may have touched bases on this, from them, as well as the Clever Girl session?
So when I got with Primerica, no. At the time, I did not search for other resources, which I know they're out there, but I've been with Primerica. My first account I opened with them years ago, like back when I was an educator. So it had to be early 2000. So no, at that time, no, I did not look. But they're out there. They're definitely out there. All those resources are more plentiful now. It was kind of like a stick with what you know. Primerica was working for me, so I continue to invest that way.
Right.
What was your other question, Ms. Tiff?
In terms of the Clever Girl, I think what people want to know is, and I think you did touch base on it some. Do you use this daily? Does she have charts? Does she, and you mentioned about her books, is it something that you use monthly to kind of decide, this is what I'm going to focus on for the personal, this is what I'm going to focus on for the business, this is what I'm going to focus on for future income and investments?
Okay, so with her, when I signed up, I basically signed up for her daily investment pointers. So she'll send out, like with anything else that you sign up for, she'll send out investments, what's happening in the investment world. If you are looking to begin in stocks, she always has like what are the top hot topic stocks that are out there for you to invest in. As far as how I use her, I do watch her daily emails, but I'm more focused on weekly budgeting for me.
Okay.
And she has a book that specializes in all those things. When I signed up for her email listing, it was more so for my monthly budgeting.
Great, great, great. You mentioned about you and your sister looking at doing some real estate investment. When you guys are looking at that, what is the focus? And basically, you did share what your expected outcome was, but as you're doing that, what are some things that you've learned in the process from some of the real estate agents and people that you've been working with that would give people who are interested in purchasing a home an idea, such as location, you know, when the best time to buy? Because like right now, everybody says it's, you know, actually the seller's market, because everything has gone up now with COVID. So things have doubled and tripled in cost. And also, as you are doing that, are you all looking at, or did any of the real estate people say to you, you know, the types of areas of homes? Are they telling you to look at like starter home areas? Or are they telling you to look more for family home areas, or investing in higher end real estate?
Well, for me, whenever I'm speaking about, and this is just my situation, the best part for me as starting out in real estate, like I was saying before, right now is not a good time for me to buy, period. But the information that I got was not more so on the higher end real estate, not to start out for me. And that's just with my income. That's what I'm able to put forward. That's what I'm going to qualify for. So higher end income would not work for me at the time. Higher end real estate would not work for me at the time. Location is important. And I can use my sister's home actually as an example. She built a house next to LSU, and the entire neighborhood basically was taken over by students. So all of these people who bought the homes eventually moved out, but they're able to rent these homes for astronomical numbers because of all the students who are looking for somewhere to live while they're going back and forth to school. So she's gained $20,000+ in equity in this home just by location alone. So location has always been an important thing that the people in my life who are specializing in real estate, they push, especially when looking for a multifamily home.
Awesome, awesome, and very good information. Let's take it back to microblading. In terms of microblading, tell us what what's a week like? What's a week like? Or what's a weekend like? To give people an idea of not just and also someone put in the overall investment, like basically on an average, what did it cost to get into that business? But also on an average, kind of what are you making if you say that in terms of a week or a weekend or a month?
Okay, so I'll start with my initial investment. A lot of the classes to get started and to get your first certification are ranging anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. It totally depends on where you are in the country and who the person is that's offering the course. Is this a well-known microblader? How long have they been in the system? It just varies. So of course that's upfront costs, but it's a one-time cost. From there, like I said, I'm insured. So that's a monthly cost. My insurance is about $45, $50 a month. Of course, you have to have a location. Well, you don't have to, but I chose to do a location. Some people choose to do it other ways. But again, I was blessed to be able to go into a location where I'm able to pay weekly. And my total expense for my location is $400 a month, which is fairly cheap for to have my own studio, my own room, my own bathroom. So that's what I pay per month, $400 for that. As far as your other expenses, you have to keep up with your inventory. Of course, you have to keep needles. Everything is sterile. You have to make sure you have the pigment, and that stuff expires. So you just have to make sure you're doing that. The pigment that I use is about $30 now for a little bitty bottle, and it lasts about 3 months. But you want to make sure you have the colors to offer to different clientele. So I have about 20 to 25 colors, and I just have to make sure I keep those restocked. So like I said, they're about $30, and there's certain pigments that I use more than others, so I replace them more often. Another monthly cost would be, I'm trying to think. Can't think of another cost at the moment, but as far as how much you're making, so that also depends, you're charging for services also depends on your location, how long you've been in the game, how well your clientele is, like how much are you growing, because you don't want to go in too low, you don't want to go in too high to where you're not meeting your target market. So for me, I'm mid-range. Combo brow is what I'll say. That's a combination between shading and microblading is $350. Like I said, I have a 9 to 5, and the last thing I want to do is be burnt out. So when I first started, I was doing a person on Friday, 2 people Saturday, 2 people Sunday. And from that, so that's $700 Saturday, $700 Sunday, $350 Friday. That's a week.
Right.
So great money, exhausted. But and like I said, I am actually, for our area, I would consider myself to be middle of the road. I'm definitely not at the top and I'm not at the bottom. But like I said, it just depends on where you want to go. If you go next door to Texas, they're easily charging $800 a service, and people are paying for it. So it really just depends on where you are in the country, how long you've been in the business, and your clientele. How big is it? How or is everybody like coming to you? Like basically, are you the hottest person out there? And that just determines how much you can charge and how high you can go. But I'll never tell anyone. I've always told young people who ask me, it's very lucrative. You can do it. And it's so many different ways or different gateways you can go into it. It's not just brows anymore. You can do eyeliner, you can do lips, you can do freckles. So there's so many different outlets and different ways that you can learn this skill and just grow your business. And it's steady growing. And I'm really excited about the fact that there's more women of color there, because that means we are able to get the service. Nobody knows our skin like we know our skin. So I was really excited to see, and I'm still excited to see how many people are actually starting to offer microblading services.
That's awesome. And that's some really good information. Also, knowing that now you can get I knew about the eyeliner, but putting the freckles on and whatnot. And I know we're gonna wrapping up right at 7, but here are a couple of other things. Said, what are some tips you would give for up and coming entrepreneurs just breaking into the beauty business? I think you also kind of just explored your next sector of what you intend to do with this when you mentioned about, you can do the eyeliner, you can do the lips, you can do the freckles. And also the question is, are you having to pay for advertising, or is it by word of mouth or using a high social media presence? So let's take the one, are you paying for advertisement? Is it word of mouth or using a high social media presence?
I would definitely say, okay, I'll start by saying I've done it all. I've tried all of them, but there's nothing like word of mouth. I have so many people who come to me because somebody else told them to come to me. Or they've seen somebody I've done and they're like, oh, I'm going to her. Social media is an amazing tool. I am not a social media pro. Those people who are, they're great at it. I just don't happen to have that skill. I do post on social media. It is a great way to get your business out there. I wish I was a lot better at it. But word of mouth has been my largest advertisement. Also, one thing that I've heard from my clients, and this would be a tip, professionalism. They appreciate the fact that I have my website. I have information out there that you can find without having to call me. Most of my clients that come to me already have all their questions answered, and it's because I'm very upfront about everything. So just having your website together and not expecting everybody to have social media, because you would be surprised how many people come to me and they found me on Google. They don't have social media. So they just Googled microblading in my area and I pop up. And a lot of people don't realize how powerful that is to have your business listed on Google. So those would be, and another thing, another tip, I've heard some of my clients say the fact that I actually have microblading, that made them come to me too. Like, you know what it should look like because you have it yourself. So you already know what questions I'm asking, everything. And it made me, I guess, more relatable.
Very good, very good. And some very, very good tips as well. Now, in terms of looking at everything and everything that we've talked about tonight, if someone wanted to tomorrow go into this business and say, hey, I think that's something I'm truly, truly interested in, what are the top 5 things that you would tell them to do?
Do it. Don't talk yourself out of it. One thing that I had in the beginning was the fear of putting my information out there, or the fear of sharing my skill, or like the social media presence. I was comparing myself to people who had been in the industry for 10 years. And you can't do that. You really just gotta take a leap of faith and believe in yourself. And that's number one. Believe in yourself. Do it. if you're considering jumping out there and trying something in the beauty industry, try it. The one thing that made me go ahead and do this is I didn't want to have the regret of not trying. Even if I failed, I would have been okay with failing and not okay with the regret of never trying. Another thing was that number 3. So the third thing I would say, do your research. Everybody is not going to teach you, because some people are going to look at you as their competitor. So do your research. Make sure you're going to someone who knows what they're talking about. There's different techniques in microblading. What you don't want to do is pick up a technique just to make money, to where you're just making all the money, and then here a month down the line, your clients are coming back because their services isn't lasting, or their skin has a lot of scar tissue. So you want to make sure you do your research on who you're going to, and making sure you're doing the correct or getting the correct information so that you're able to offer the best service to your clients. 4, go at your own pace. Do not compare yourself to anybody else out there. Enjoy it, have fun with it. That's one thing I can say about microblading. It's not work to me. I actually like to do it. I don't mind getting up to do it. I don't mind the days or the weeks where, hey, my clients are a little low this week. I'm okay with that. And it could be because I'm blessed to be in a place where, this isn't my only source of income, but you have fun with it, enjoy it, make it your own. Like I said, I'm a girl who I like beauty, but I'm not so much into makeup. So I specialize in making brows natural. However, there's a lot of women of color out there who want the pow, who want the, look fully made every day, and that's great. Maybe that's your target market. So basically, developing a target market is really good. For me, mine has been moms and working women. But yeah, just finding your target market, stick with it. And the last thing I would say, don't blow your money. Understand that you have to pay taxes and prepare for it. Yes, a lot of people think like LLCs are this huge write-off, but you also have to make sure that you're logging in and documenting what you're making in your business each month. So just staying on top of your finances, having conversations like these, attending financial workshops, getting somebody who is up to speed on your LLC or whatever you choose to do with your business. And also, like for me in my business, I use Square, but there's so many different ways that you can use your payment terminal. But with Square, it's all done for me. So I will make sure that you use an investment tool, not an investment tool, like a financial tool that it can keep your inventory in check, as well as your profits and what you should be putting back in taxes. So those will be my 5 things that I would say for someone who's trying to start. But definitely number 1, do it. Don't allow yourself to talk yourself out of it like me.
Great. That's some great advice. President Shy Joseph, I understand that you would like to add something. Can you unmute?
I actually, as she was speaking, good evening, and thank you for the information that you have shared. For those that have just logged in a little bit after you started, just to give the definition of what microblading is or what blading is, because when you began to speak about the cost of it, I think it raised the eyebrows of some of the individuals about what am I getting again? And how do I make myself look like this?
Yeah. And yeah, that's about right. So microblading, it's a lot of people say it's permanent, but it is semi-permanent. So it's semi-permanent makeup, basically. Like if you see my brows, okay, this is, I can't believe I'm showing y'all this, but okay. So I have microblading. I've had the procedure since 2017. I get a touch-up annually, and that's all that's needed once you get your microblading procedure. It lasts from 12 to 18 months. And like I said, I was the person who would not leave the house without putting on eyebrows because I was horrible. But yeah, so it's a semi-permanent procedure. The only reason I'm saying semi-permanent is because if you don't continue your annual touch-ups, after 18 months or so, it will eventually fade away. But that's a great question. A lot of people don't understand what they're getting themselves into. Sometimes they might think it's just like a little tint and it's gone in 7 days, and that's not what you're doing. So yeah, it's a semi-permanent procedure, and it's supposed to give you realistic looking eyebrows. There's different types, like you can do a combo brow, which is, well, I'll start with saying what a microblading is. Microblading is taking a small utensil and actually individually inserting ink in like hair-like strokes. That's the most natural looking version you can get. And then there's what's called a powder brow, and that's done with a small machine. And it's shading, which is pretty much what I have here. It's shading your brow and it gives you like an ombre effect. And you can do a combo where you can put both. You can do a shading effect and you can do the individual hairs. But yeah, that's what microblading is. That's why it's so expensive. Yeah.
I think there's a question in the chat, and I think I had the same question. Similar to what is it? Waxing. That does hurt a little bit so that we can be beautiful. But does this hurt or is it painful in any way?
So like I told y'all, I'm very honest and I make sure my clients know everything. The procedure is painful. My job is to get you as numb as possible, as soon as possible. We are able to use numbing cream and it's all topical. Nothing is inserted. But yes, until you are numb, you will feel it. A lot of my clients say it feels kind of like a scratch, or they've even compared it to threading. Yes, no, it's not a walk in the park. I just like to be totally honest. It's not a walk in the park.
Thank you for that. They said beauty never comes easy. So
It doesn't.
So anesthesia is used. So a tropical anesthesia is used. So they can, and so once they get there, is that put on then, and then in a few minutes it begins to give it that time for that to take effect. Yes. And then get started.
Yes, and different artists do theirs totally different. So I'm only speaking on the way I do my client. Right. Yes, I do. I have a primary numbing and a secondary numbing, and primary is applied once we've achieved your shape that you're happy with. And my goal is to, during the process, I can apply my secondary numbing, and my goal is to get you where you feel nothing as soon as possible. But like I said, different artists do it differently. But I have not heard of an artist that doesn't use some type of topical ointment.
Very good. Well, we have thoroughly enjoyed you tonight. It's been very interesting. I will say, I did see you had a PowerPoint. I hope you were able to get through it. Oh, good, because I was getting to say, the questions were coming in and I wanted to be sure that people had their questions answered. So that's great. I feel better that you were able to go through the PowerPoint. Also, for those of you who are listening and participating on the Zoom, as well as YouTube and Facebook Live, we would like for you to go in to the chat and look at the evaluation that is there and to please fill that out for us. We are very excited about tonight. We've learned some things. You've even shared some resources with us, especially with a young lady that has her Google site and some other tips that you've learned from your Prime America, as well as real estate investors and people in real estate. So we thank you very, very kindly. Are
Thank you.
there any other questions
I see
in
a few,
the chat?
I see a few.
Okay.
Can there be scoring as a result of the procedure? I'm trying to think of a nice way to say that. Not if you go to the right artist. Not necessarily scoring if you're with an artist who knows what they're doing. But there is one thing that, and I have this on my website, and I'm sure most professional artists do, especially if you've never had a tattoo or you've ever had any type of allergic reaction to inks or dyes in your hair. It's recommended that you do a little dye test, and it'll be a little scratch behind your ear or anywhere that you can't see it, and just to test the dye so that you won't have any allergic reactions with it. But as far as scoring, no, do your research on your artist. But that would be the only thing I would say. Make sure you do. If you have any type of allergies, I would definitely recommend doing the pigment test. Is there a way to vet a person to be sure you are getting services from? Yes. Check their certifications. It should be posted. When you're looking at pictures, make sure they're able to show before and afters, not just befores. You want to see how their work heals.
That's good. That's a good thought. And also, when they're saying about that too, can they ask people for references? You know, like if they want to use a particular person, can they say, hey, can you tell me somebody whose eyebrows you did so I can?
I don't think me personally, I wouldn't want to just give a name of somebody who I've done. And that's just for client
confidentiality.
Yeah,
but
confidentiality. But
do you have clients though that wouldn't mind, or do you post up pictures on the website, you know, like before and after?
Yeah, so
okay,
like on my client intake packets, I have a question that asks, are you okay with me using photographs? I have to take photographs just to keep on file for my insurance. But Are you okay with me using them online? If you are, would you just like me to use the eye area or so forth and so on? So if I don't post it, they didn't want me to. But if I'm given approval to post their photos, then I will. And especially when I was starting out, or even like now, I'll do clients, and it's just for my portfolio, just so I'll have things to show and I can follow that person throughout their healing process. And I use those pictures like on my website or my social media pages. But that's just me. I wouldn't feel comfortable just giving someone's name unless I knew that person personally. Like, hey, this is my best friend, I did these, or hey, this
and
is
I
my
think
friend,
that's
I did these.
I honestly think that's what the person meant with their question. Just saying, you know, like, do you have people that could, like, for instance, if I had done it, and then you could say, you know, I wouldn't mind. And you could say, yes, you could call her, you could look at hers, or she can show you. So I think that's what they meant by that.
Yeah.
And closing out,
we
would like you to put into the chat your website and your contact information for anyone who would like to have the service.
Sure.
Or that's interested.
So I'm gonna pull it up on the PowerPoint. And also, if you are interested, please drop your your email address below, and I will be sending out a special offer for the new year for everyone who is online.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Well, everyone, as you are putting in your information into the chat so that you can get that special offer for the holidays, we want to again thank you and remind you to please let's still, even if we have not, or even if we've just done it a little bit, to think about really, really focusing on generational wealth for our families, but mainly for our children, because it can truly make a difference in our lives, but especially our children's lives. And as we say, there are many ways to prosper, but we know generational wealth is definitely one of them. Looking at jobs, additional jobs, as well as real estate, investing, and a host of other things. If you know someone that we can feature on the Generational Wealth series, please send me a text message or an email or put it in the group me. We are definitely looking for people, and as stated before, we have a wealth of people who are very interested in sharing their knowledge base with us. So until the next time, take care, stay safe. Thank you for joining us.
And Daphne, before we get off, I just want to share with everyone that Baton Rouge Sigma is having a program this Wednesday sponsored by our emergency response team. It is on an active shooter survival training. It will be for adults as well as children of the community. So please come out in this untimely situation where we can share with you all what are some good ways to be able to survive during an unexpected time during an active shooter situation. Also on Tuesday morning, we will be having an interview on Channel 33 with Baton Rouge Proud. So please look for us there so that you can see the information that will be done. On our Facebook page and Instagram pages, you can register ahead of time so that we'll know that you will be attending this particular active shooter survival training live in person at Madison Prep Gymnasium. Thank you to Daphne and Carletta for leading us this evening, as well as the Economic Development Committee. We look forward to seeing you for our next series special. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Tangela. Great job.